back here with another episode of Clutch Crew Sports. Another crazy week of football. I felt pretty good about my locks this week. We'll get to those, and we've got the NBA Finals on the horizon. So a lot of great things happening in sports right now. We're gonna be happy to share with you guys. Let me introduce you now to the rest of our crew.
What's going on, guys? It is Connor, the co-host with the most, and I'm pretty excited to be talking about NFL here. I'm still the only member of the Clutch Crew whose team is still undefeated. Steelers are 3-0. Woo! But yeah, no, I'm excited. I mean, they got to make up for how bad the Hornets were. So, so I'm excited to talk about the NFL, and also, hopefully I did okay on the locks, but hoping for a better week next week.
What's going on, y'all? This is Eric, your ranting co-host, and once again, I could rant on myself with another bad lockboard performance. I can at least take solace in the fact that in our NFL weekly picks, I am in first place in that, but with the lockboard, no comment.
Yeah, at least you still, if the result holds right now, you'll still have a 2-game lead over Nate.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Nate here. Definitely in the same boat as Eric here. My lockboard has not been living up to the hype so far this year, so looking to get on the right track with that hopefully this weekend. I'm excited to talk about some great NFL games this past weekend with the guys. So.
Yeah, really. We'll get to the lockboard halfway through the show to show you guys exactly what went down this week with our locks. But first, as always, we're going to go around the shield, talk about the NFL. And we have a different topic from last week, talking about coaches, job security. So I'll let Connor explain what we're going to be doing here on this next slide.
Yeah, so, according to the spectrum, Nate looks like he's going to be fired.
We're going off lockboard points. Might be.
Yeah, you got to get a minimum number.
Well, okay, here we go. Then let me just fix this really quick then.
Fired.
There's still time to turn it around, okay?
But yeah, so I figured this is pretty similar to what we did last week with the the buy and sell. But this week we're going to do it with NFL coaches. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are overperforming right now. There's certainly a lot of teams that are underperforming. So I decided that we should do an early season coaching carousel. We're definitely going to do this at some point, probably like week 16 or week 17 later in the year, because when all the firings will actually take place. But figured we'd talk about it right now, because who knows, with one of these coaches on this list might just end up being fired next week. So we'll see how it goes. But I guess we'll start off probably with the most obvious one that I'm sure everybody's thinking of. We'll start with Adam Gase. Safe or fired?
I don't even need to move.
Can I move this off the spectrum?
Yeah, I see it there. I
thought we were going further to the right for yeah.
I'm behind. Yeah, let me shift mine a little bit that way. Okay. So basically, guys, all of us are in agreement that Adam Gase should be fired. And then we've got a spectrum on here. So Eric, I guess, is having the most. He's closer to the middle than everybody else.
Well,
but
more so an issue of moving the picture on my phone.
Okay. I think we all fully agree on this one. Gase should be fired. I mean, okay, there you go.
I mean,
go
I
ahead,
will
Connor.
say for Jets fans, Adam Gase needs to be fired, but Sam Darnold needs to go too. I still don't understand all these Jets fans and oh, Sam Darnold is not the problem, and I'm like, I mean, it's funny, we were just talking about this before the podcast, alluding to Matt Ryan, the Falcons are garbage, but Matt Ryan still puts up 4,500 passing yards. If Sam Darnold was doing that, then yeah, he's definitely not the problem. But when you're only putting up 3,000 a year and only throwing one more touchdown than interception, it seems like you might also be part of the problem. So
yeah,
sorry,
I mean, in that last game against the Colts, if the Colts offense hadn't scored a single point, the Colts still would have won 16-7. That's bad. That's bad.
Well, it was funny 'cause
And it's not like the running backs were fumbling and scooping scores. Like, he took a safety and threw 2 pick sixes. Like, that's trash.
Well, there was a guy who like I was talking to on Facebook, and he was like trying to defend Sam Darnold, being like, "Oh, the rest of the team is trash." I was like, or like Gase is trash. And I was like, those 3 interceptions. Like, I went back and watched the highlights. Like the 2 pick sixes, he had a clean pocket on those pick sixes. That like it was just a bad decision. And then like the one that wasn't a pick six, he threw it into like triple coverage. It's like, how is
That's
that?
what he does, man.
I was like, how is that not Sam Darnold's fault?
He's seeing ghosts again.
Yeah. So,
Those
but
dang ghosts keep getting in the way.
Sam Darnold's been bad, but obviously Gase has also been bad too. And I don't even think he ever should have been a head coach for the Jets. When they made that hire, I was shocked that they decided to hire him. But it's not working out at all. I think it's year 2, maybe year 3 for him, but it's not good for Adam Gase right now. So we'll move on to the next one though and see where he falls, because he's an interesting one.
Yeah. So I know obviously this team has, they just drafted a quarterback and they're looking towards the future, but definitely not the start that they wanted, and obviously a poor season last year. So where do you think Zach Taylor, the coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, will fall?
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I was wondering if Zach wasn't moving or like.
No, I'm staying put. I'm staying put where I was at.
Ooh.
So to give everybody, by the way, I think someone's mic is like buzzing right now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can hear like a.
I wonder if that's mine.
Say, I don't even have a mic plugged in, so it's not me.
Let me try muting mine real quick. All right, sorry. We won't just, maybe if we talk over it, you won't hear it as much. Okay, so basically for Zach Taylor, Eric, Connor, and Nate all had him on the safe side, but fairly close to the middle, whereas I'm about 80% on the fired side. So I'm on the I'm the lone wolf on the fired for Zach Taylor. I'm not saying he needs to be fired right now, but he hasn't. I've seen enough of what Zach Taylor has done for this team, and it's been nothing. They won like 3 games last year. They haven't won a game this year. They've had so many opportunities to win. I just don't see what the hype is with him. And the problem with Cincinnati too is I know this is going to happen. Is Zach Taylor is going to get like 5 years for this job, and he's going to win like 4 games a year, because Cincinnati never fires their head coaches, no matter how bad they are. So yeah. So I mean, he's definitely going to be safe with the ownership in Cincinnati, but I think I've seen enough from him. They're gonna waste Joe Burrow's prime if he's still the coach after this year, is my opinion. But you guys are more in the middle, leaning safe. So Connor, why do you disagree with me?
I mean, I guess for me, it's, obviously it's not a good look, the fact that they were bad this year. But I think given the fact that they just drafted a new quarterback and, they are sort of in a rebuilding phase, I think they give him one more season. I mean, unless I will say that, like, the reason why I'm only kind of like partially on the safe is because if they do end up like only winning like 2 games this year, then I think he'll be fired. But I think they could probably squeak out like 4 or 5 wins, and I think that'll be enough to. He can use the excuse of like, well, we're rebuilding, new quarterback, blah 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 blah. Defense still sucks, so that's not my fault. So I think if they can get 4 or 5 wins, I think he'll be around for 1 more year. But if they only win like 2 games, then yeah, he'll be gone. But for right now, I'm like just right on the edge.
Yeah, Nate and Eric are like right in the same spot. So I'll ask Nate. Do you agree with what Connor said?
Yeah, I'm pretty much with Connor here. I don't disagree with what you said. I don't think he's personally a great coach, and like you said, the Bengals traditionally have not always acted in the best interest of the organization. These kind of situations, but I definitely think he's a second-year guy. They just picked a quarterback number 1 overall that obviously they're committed to for the long haul. So I think he's guaranteed to finish out this season, going to next season, and maybe next season if they do bad again, he'll get fired. But I think he's definitely got the job security, at least for this year and next year.
All right, let's go on to our next candidate. So, Connor, tell us who that is.
Yeah, so this will be an interesting candidate for Zach and Eric here. So,
yeah,
obviously, we all thought he was going to be fired after last year. Eric even had a whole rant on it. So, the Jaguars have had a better start to the season than most people would have thought. But where does Doug Marrone stand on the safe or fired scale?
Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
So,
Whoa.
So Eric is fully in the safe. Oh, even moving more to the left. And then
Wow.
I'm about
the guy who ranted on him.
Well,
I'll
get to that.
Eric will explain. Eric will explain. I'm still on safe, not as safe as Eric. And then Connor and Nate are on the fired side, about in the middle point of that. Nate on the most extreme for the fired. But Eric, I want to hear from you. Why it's so safe?
Well, it's kind of like what I said in the AFC South preview. I guess what I'll say too is like I'm basing my picks on these more so on what I think will happen, not necessarily what I feel like should happen. Because I mean, if I was going by what I feel like should happen, like I would be on the other end of the spectrum. But I think that after the Jaguars fired Tom Coughlin, I think Shad Khan met with Doug Marrone and Caldwell and maybe the assistant coaches. I don't know. But I think he promised them at least 2 seasons to give them time to try to rebuild the team. Because I know they came out with this whole thing about, oh, we have to win now. And, if we don't win now, then we're failures and all this stuff, whatever they said.
Yeah.
But if you're a coach and a GM and you're in a position where you're forced to win this season, you're not trading away Calais Campbell. You're not cutting Leonard Fournette. You're not doing all of these moves that they made. You're not giving up some of these players for peanuts. Like, you're not doing all this stuff. They're doing this so that they can free up cap room and to try to be aggressive in free agent. And of course, they're stockpiling on draft picks so they can get more young guys in there. And that's what you're not doing that. You're not doing all that if you have to win right now. So, like I even said in the AFC South preview, I feel like the Jaguars could go 0-16 and Doug Marrone will be safe. I mean, obviously we won a game, so we can't do that now. But even if we did go 0-16, like I feel like Doug Marrone would be safe. And obviously I don't want that. But now who could be fired tomorrow would be Todd Wash. Please. Wake up, Jaguars management, and fire this guy. Like, I see people on Twitter,
he must have some dirt
he has,
on Shaw.
He has naked pics of Doug Marrone on his phone or something. Like, I see people too, and this is turning into a rant too. I see people on Twitter and they're like, "Well, Jaguars don't have anybody on defense. Like, why are you blaming Todd Wash? We have 2 first-round picks as edge rushers. We have a first-round pick at corner, and we have 2 veterans who are solid at the linebacker position. Now, yes, the rest of the defense is not very good, but we have pieces on the defense. We should not be giving up 30-plus points a game.
To the Dolphins.
Ryan Fitzpatrick should not complete 90% of his passes against you. Like, Ryan Tannehill should not have thrown for 4 touchdowns against you. Like, I am sorry. Oh my gosh, dude. Like, so yeah, Todd Wash can go, but unfortunately, like I said, we could lose all the rest of our games this year, and Doug Marrone's going to be safe.
Yeah, no, I'm not as extreme as Eric on this one. I think they need to show some progress. I think for Marrone to really be safe, I think Minshew has to, prove and secure that he's the quarterback. Because even if the record is like 6-10, but Minshew is for sure the guy, then I think he comes back. But I think if the wheels fall off and they only win like 3-4 games, then I think Marone will be fired. I just don't think that's going to happen. I mean, they've played 3 games this year. 2 of the games they exceeded expectations, and then one of the games they really underperformed. So in its entirety, within just 3 games, I think Marone's done a good enough job to warrant still being the coach. We'll see how it plays out the rest of the year, but they have a really easy schedule this season, and some of their matchups coming up, they easily could win a couple of games. So I don't think he's going to get fired, but if the wheels fall off, I think he does. But let's just hear from one of you guys on the fired side. I guess Connor, as a non-Jags fan. Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely say that this is higher up on the spectrum than I would have been at the start of the season. Like, if it had been the start of the season, I mean, even with all those moves, I still would have been further to the right. But it's definitely just been those, week 1 and week 2 that's convinced me that, because for me, he needs to earn it back. And he started to do that in week 1, week 2, with beating the Colts and then almost beating the Titans, who are, still undefeated right now. But I mean, if we were only through 2 weeks, I'd probably be in the middle. But that horrible performance against the Dolphins last week moved me down a bit more. So I definitely think he's trending in the right direction. I mean, I still think they should fire him. I know Eric said that he thinks they should fire him, but I still think they should. But like you said, I don't know if they will, just because they're definitely in a rebuilding mode. I mean, it's kind of the similar thing with Zach Taylor, I guess, even though Marone's definitely had more time. But they're in a rebuilding and they know it, so who knows?
Yeah,
we'll
bro,
see.
this owner gave Gus Bradley like 4 freaking seasons, okay? As much as I want him gone, he's not going anywhere.
See, they're trying to be like
I will
trying
lock
to
it.
They're trying to whoa. They're trying to be like the Steelers, but they're not doing it with good coaches. They're doing it with bad coaches.
Yeah,
no. All right. Well, there's another AFC South coach on the hot seat.
Well, before we move on, is that official for the lock from Eric that Doug Marone is not getting fired?
I will lock the living crap out of that.
Whoa!
He's not going.
If he gets fired, this tape's gonna get played back someday.
Good. Because, see, it works out for me either way, because either A, I get it right and my lock comes true that Doug Marone doesn't get fired, or B, maybe I look a little goofy getting this replayed, but at least I get what I want, and we get a different coach. So it's a win-win for me. I don't care.
All right.
So, I did not expect to get this fired up tonight, but I am.
Well, every time I bring up the Jags, But so move on to, like Zach said, another AFC South coach. Very infamous for some of his off-season moves and maybe some of his moves this season. But Bill O'Brien, where does he fall on the spectrum? I love the same idea I did.
Eric, did you moved yours, right?
Yeah, I moved.
Okay. All right. So Eric is a little bit more than, he's on the safe side, a little bit past the halfway point. And then Connor, Nate, and myself are all like off the board here on the fired side. We're all on the fired. So I'm curious, Eric, explain the safe pick.
Well, I'm definitely not going to say like 100% for sure that he's safe. But the reason why I don't have him as far over as you guys do is because if you look at the schedule the Texans have played so far, like they've had a really rough start with who they've had to play in the beginning of the season. I mean, they played the Chiefs and the Ravens, who are the Ravens aren't doing so good tonight right now, but going into the season, most people would say that those were like the 2 best teams in the whole AFC, and then they had to play the Steelers, who are known for having a great defense, and they've got Big Ben back. So I mean that's a rough start, and they haven't looked great or anything, but I'm willing to give them a pass for now, in the sense that it's not now. If they were 0-3 and had lost to like the Jets and the Giants and like the Bengals or something, then I would have them way over there where you guys have them. But I'm willing to give them a little more time, and plus just there's a little bit of wishful thinking as a Jags fan that he stays safe.
Yeah.
But I did say I would go into this just with what I think will happen, and as of right now, I still think he's safe, barring.
Yeah.
We will be coming back to this later in the year. So if it stays, if their record keeps staying bad, then I'll definitely change. But for now, I'm keeping him safe.
Okay, so I'll let Nate talk on the fired side for the three of us. So Nate, why do you disagree with Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that they played through three really good teams. Like, I'm not saying he should be fired, mid-season, because they definitely still have some room to turn it around. But I think just when you look at his whole record over the course of the time he's been in Houston, and the moves he's made with players, getting DeAndre Hopkins, the best player they've had in a few years, kicked out of Houston, and all of that.
For
I think
David
it's starting to-
Johnson.
Yeah, for David Johnson, and I think it's all starting to add up. If they don't turn it around, I think he definitely should be fired, especially looking in the context of they just gave Deshaun Watson all that money, and I think they can't afford to have a guy like Bill O'Brien around for the next few years and win like 7 games. With a guy like Watson, you got to go all in, get a new coach in as fast as possible, and kind of see if you can put a team together around him, because they've got a really limited window there, I would say. So
yeah, let's power through some of the next ones and move on to the next
right.
coach.
I will say one last thing about Bill O'Brien for me is that I have, Eric just locked that Burrow was coming back, but I do have it on the lock board that O'Brien was going to be fired. So I gotta keep up the
Connor, why would you make a lock like that? Shame on you.
All right, so now we're going to move on to another 0-3 team, Vic Fangio of the Denver Broncos.
Ooh, okay. So,
Wait,
Eric
are you
is
even on the board.
Yeah.
He's on the.
Oh, there you are.
Oh.
You went way off the chain.
Yeah, so basically Eric is right in the middle, 50-50 on this. I am on the complete fired side. Connor's on the complete safe side, and Nate is on the safe side in between Eric and Connor. So we'll hear from, I guess, on this one, it's going to be real interesting. So I want to hear from all three of us, Connor, Nate, Connor, Eric, and myself. So I'll go first. The number one thing as a head coach, like, that you should be able to do is manage the clock. And Fangio last year was
ran about this before.
Last year he was terrible at this. This year, the worst part about what happened in week 1 is he's still defending what he was doing. Like, I can get, okay, like, maybe I, just own up that you messed up and you screwed it up, and you're like, yeah, I gotta be better next time.
Make better choices.
He still defended what he did. So I think if they end up in a situation where, similar to week 1, I think he's going to do exactly what he did before, and it's going to be an automatic loss if he does what he did before. So Fangio, he's not shown me anything. He's one of those guys that is more of a coordinator than a head coach. I just don't think he's gonna make it another year, especially at the rate they're going right now. And who knows how much longer Locke's out. But I think if Locke stays hurt too, then it's only going to make it worse for him. But Eric in the middle, curious, this is the first true middle pick we've had all day. So Eric, why in the middle?
Yeah, I definitely am in agreement with you here. I didn't realize that he was still defending his bad play. That kind of makes me want to move slightly more to the fired side. But the reason why I'm right in the center is because the Broncos have had a ton of injuries this year so far, and when you lose your quarterback and then your best defensive player, and you're not even at week 2 of the season yet, that doesn't bode well for anybody. So even though I don't feel like he's I don't feel like he's a great coach or anything, I think he at least has this as an excuse where he can be like, look, I had to get to a point where I probably had to start Blake Bortles, what else am I supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? So
you never want to be in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, so That's why I think he has a chance to be safe, but could be fired, because I definitely agree with what Zach said. I just think there's just been so many injuries, but at least Doug Marrone admitted that he's going to stop deferring on the coin toss because of how bad our defense is. Like, if he wins the coin toss, he's going to receive. So at least he admits his mistakes. That's better than this guy. Yeah, I'll let Connor and Nate.
Yeah, Connor's fully on the safe
here.
so I want to hear from him.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing with them is it's just has to be all the injuries. Like, and also, I mean, kind of similar to Houston. Like, I mean, they've played 3 pretty good teams the first 2. I mean, like, they barely lost to Tennessee. I mean, mainly because of like what Zach said, his time management decisions. But then losing to Pittsburgh and losing to Tampa Bay, who are 2 of the better teams in the league. So I mean, that 0-3 is not quite as bad as maybe like the Vikings is 0-3 right now, but. It's just all the injuries for me that you can't really blame them too much when, I mean, their quarterback is hurt, Philip Lindsay is hurt, Cortland Sutton's going on IR now, Von Miller is hurt, someone else on the defense is hurt. I can't remember what it was.
Boye was hurt, I know.
That's right, Boye was. There was someone else who got a season-ending injury on the defense. I can't remember, but they just have so many injuries that, and also this is only his second year, and again, kind of like with the Bengals, they're in a rebuilding stage right now. So I think Fangio, they're going to give him at least one more season. I mean, even if the Broncos end up going like 2-14, then he's got the excuse of, well, we're rebuilding, and also like pretty much the entire team was injured, so like, you can't blame me too much for that. All right, so. Guess we'll move on to the next one. So this one, I was debating whether to include him or not. This was definitely an interesting one for me. But Anthony Lynn of the Los Angeles Chargers.
All right, so we're all on the safe side here. Not Eric's the most confident, but I'll just speak for myself on this, and then we got to get rolling through the next couple. So, for me, with Lynn, is if he were to have started Tyrod this past week, if Tyrod didn't have that crazy thing that happened to him with the doctor, I think he would be on the fired side. But Herbert's shown a lot in the first couple weeks, and the team as a whole has been promising. They almost came back and beat Carolina. I think Anthony Lynn will be safe at the end of the day. The only reason I was on the fired side with him was if he was going to bench Herbert after how good he did against the Chiefs, but the team doctor, I guess, prevented that from happening. you should thank the team doctor for not screwing that decision.
Maybe he went to Oregon or something, and he's wanted to give Herbert a chance.
Really. So that's, I guess, anybody wants to say anything different about that, like. And then we'll move on to the next one.
I think you pretty much said it.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to the next one. The only first-year head coach on this list right now, Joe Judge of the New York Giants.
Eric, you say.
Oh, I was about to say that Eric going to keep it where it is.
Okay. So we all kind of are in the same area on this one. Connors and Nate are more in the middle, and then Eric and myself are on the little bit on the safe side. Let's hear from Nate about why are you in the middle on this, Nate?
Yeah, I'm just in the middle because, like you said, he's a first-year head coach. He's only 3 games in. They looked awful in those 3 games. They got blown out by the 49ers, who are missing like 8 guys,
half their team.
8 starters. Yeah, so, I mean, definitely not a good start at all. So I think he will be fired at some point, but I don't think the Giants are going to be in a hurry to, admit they were wrong and fire him. I'd be surprised if it was after this season, but I could definitely. I mean, I'm basically expecting it to happen next season, so that's why I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one guy who needs to be in the over here category is Dave Gettleman. Goodness gracious. All right. Next up, he was probably the second most talked about coach behind Adam Gase when it comes to potential firings, but Matt Patricia with the Detroit Lions.
Okay, so on this one, Eric is in the middle between safe and fired, and then Connor, myself, and Nate are all on the fired side. I want to hear from Eric on this one though. Why are you in the middle on this, Eric?
Eric?
All right, I guess
I guess
we'll go to someone else.
I mean, my thing with Matt Patricia.
Sorry,
is
I forgot my mic was muted. Sorry. I had to go downstairs real fast. No, I have him in the middle just because I feel like them beating Arizona was impressive, and in week 1 against the Bears, if DeAndre Swift doesn't drop that pass, then they win that game and they're 2-1. So the Lions are doing better than what I would have thought. I was really shocked that they beat Arizona. I guess that was kind of the turning point for me that put me more in the middle. I think if they'd had like an ugly game there, I would have definitely been leaning more towards fired. But at the same time, his resume there has not been impressive in the long term. So I'm definitely not willing to put him at 100% safe or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think with Matt Patricia, like, I think the biggest thing for me is that, like, he, like Eric said, they should be 2-1 right now, and I think the Lions have the potential to do something better. It's just like they're kind of hampered by the fact that they're the Detroit Lions and they're kind of destined for failure. Sorry,
Lions fans. Yeah,
I mean,
we do have some Lions fans listening.
We've already
to us,
lost all the Packers fans, and now we're going to lose all the Lions fans. But I mean, yeah, I just think, unfortunately for them, that is what's kind of holding them back. Like, they just have the most unfortunate things that tend to happen to them, like DeAndre Swift dropping that touchdown. Like, I know he's a rookie and everything, but how often are you going to see something like that happen where the guy is wide open for a game-winning touchdown and he just straight up drops it? So, like I said, potential, but I definitely do think, he is going to be fired by the time we get to the end of the season. All right, so we're down to our last 2 here. So this one is definitely not one I would have expected to put on here when we started the season, but an 0-3 start will definitely land you on here. How about Mike Zimmer from the Minnesota Vikings?
All right. Waiting for Eric to make a slight adjustment. Eric's been in the middle a lot lately. Yeah, so
it's hard to move it on my phone, but yeah, I'll just stay there.
Okay. So we're all on the safe side. I'm on the most safe. Connor and Nate are basically in the same spot, and Eric's slightly leaning safe. I just don't see the reason to hit the panic button yet for Zimmer, considering the Vikings have been in the playoffs the last couple of years, and I expect them to eventually get it around. But I mean, obviously, if they were to get the number 1 draft pick or something crazy like that, then he's going to be fired. I just don't see that
happening. For Trevor.
I just don't see that happening. But out of all the coaches that we've talked about, he's got the most of a resume to fall back on, even if this year they underperform. But anyone you guys are more on the fired side. Nate, why do you think Zimmer's more likely to get fired than me, but still be safe?
I mean, I'm just more so I don't think he's definitely one of the better coaches in the NFL. He has been for the past few years, but I think he's not a guy like, a Bill Belichick or someone that, their job is locked in.
Nobody's like him.
Yeah, I just nobody's like him. But I mean, there's about 5 guys I think whose jobs are kind of ironclad, like Sean Payton, those guys. So I think he's pretty safe. But like you said, they're 0-3. If they win 3 games this year, he might be on the outs. I think it's definitely early to say. I'm not saying hit the panic button, but definitely not off to a good start for him.
Yeah,
I think definitely for me the biggest thing for Zimmer, why I'm leaning more towards the middle, is that I think it's just the Vikings organization. I think is just getting a bit fed up, I guess is the word I'm looking for, because they've had good teams for quite a while now and really haven't been able to do anything. And when you start getting it's kind of like with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. Obviously McCarthy had the job for a long time and he won a Super Bowl with them, but the Packers went in a really long stretch where they had a good team and were making the playoffs, but they weren't reaching that next level. Like they weren't consistently making the NFC Championship game. They weren't consistently, challenging for the Super Bowl. And I think that's where the Vikings are at right now. Like Zimmer's had enough time to, and enough talent on the team to really, get this team to at least make a Super Bowl or, maybe. I mean, they made the NFC Championship game once, but that was kind of on a fluke in a way when they beat the Saints. So, and obviously the 0-3 start is not good when they were expected to be, fighting with the Packers for the NFC North crown. So it's going to be interesting to see how this folds out. Like I ultimately do think they'll bring him back, but I don't think he can take another year of this before the Vikings are really going to start considering, do we need to start looking for someone else? Because he's been given enough time. All right, so the last coach on this list is the king of the choke masters himself, Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I'm on the should have been fired like a year ago sort of thing with him, but even more now. Like basically, guys, everybody, we all picked like fire right now ASAP sort of thing. But I'm not too passionate about this. I'm not like a Falcons fan. I know Connor watches the Falcons a little bit and likes them. So so Connor, just tell us about the frustrations of Dan Quinn.
I mean, God, where to start? I mean, it's just, again, I feel like he's kind of, a worse version of Mike Zimmer, like where the Falcons seem to always have this team and then just like completely collapse. And especially, going back to Nate will obviously loves this, the 28-3, in the Super Bowl. And I even saw someone after last week when they choked again, after this past weekend when they choked against the Bears, there was someone who had a mask that had like the 28-3 on it. And they were like, I think this is appropriate for what happened this week. So, I mean, it's just insane, like how how they've choked these two games away. I mean, because in the first week they played Seattle, and they just got outplayed in that game. So no shame in that, because Seattle's one of the best teams in the league. But to be up, 39-24 on Dallas, and then 26-10 on Chicago going into the last quarter, and to just absolutely wet the bed when on defense is just unexcusable. Especially when Dan Quinn, I mean, I can't. Is he? He's an offensive coach, isn't he?
No, he's a defensive.
That's right. That's right. He is a defensive coach. That's what I was trying to say. The fact that he's supposed to be a defensive-minded coach, and the defense is by far the worst thing about this team, and it has been for a really long time. I mean, a good defensive-minded coach can take the team and fix the defense. Like it's kind of like what Mike Tomlin did last year. I mean, the Steelers' defense have been struggling for a while, and then with Keith Butler trying to be like Dick LeBeau and not really succeeding, and then finally Tomlin took the reins last year, and look what happened. I mean, now we've got one of the best defenses in the league. So I know there's been a lot of Falcons fans that are calling for his head, and I mean, who's to say that it won't happen? I mean, if it does happen again, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to, but if it does happen again where they blow like another lead like this and he like doesn't immediately get fired the next week, then I think the Falcons there's something seriously wrong with the front office. Like, the fans are going to riot outside Mercedes-Benz Stadium and calling for his head. So,
yeah, that's the thing, man. You said it when you're supposed to be a defensive guru and you're like the worst team in the NFL on defense. Like that's bad. Like that's really bad.
There's a reason why the Steelers and the Patriots tend to have really good defenses.
And how do you not teach how do you have a team that doesn't even know the rules of the game with the onside kick? Like,
oh my God.
It's just so many. It's just
I don't know. The special teams coordinator should have been fired after that immediately. Like, how do you? I mean, they just sat there and stared at it for like 10 seconds, like, oh, there's a ball going there. What should we do?
Yeah,
it's like. I mean, honestly, I can't say the Packers are much better because the Saints had like a similar thing when they were trying their onside kick yesterday, and like it obviously didn't end up going 10 yards, but the Packers did just like stare at that ball forever, and I'm like, what if it had gone over? Like the Saints player would have been there to grab it, just fall on it.
Yeah. So that's gonna wrap up the coaches firing or safe segment. and we'll talk about one NFL game from the past week. I think we talked about the Falcons enough there, and
Yeah.
we all are in agreement. I know Eric and Nate didn't talk, but they agree with us. But this is something that we definitely don't agree on. What we're going to talk about now is between the Packers and Saints. The Packers won, obviously, 37-30. Connor and I got it wrong, but more importantly than just the win-loss thing, there was something that I was really noticing throughout the game. I didn't watch the very end, but from what I've seen for the past 3 weeks with Drew Brees, because I watched a little bit of all their games, is just the total lack of arm strength that he has. And at one point in last night's game, I saw a stat where he had only attempted 3 passes beyond 20 yards, and that's probably changed after the Packers game. But still, I mean, that's one of those things that like you hear people say like, "Oh, you got a noodle arm." Like that's a real noodle arm if you only throw 3 times to beyond 20 yards. And I know he's never had a cannon or anything like that, but to me, this is really would really be concerning for me if I was a Saints fan because they're so dependent on Alvin Kamara right now and the short passing game that I think teams are eventually going to figure out like how to stop it. And it sort of happened in the second half against the Raiders, and it happened in the second half with Green Bay, where they'll carve you up maybe in the first half with Kamara and the short passing routes and stuff, but eventually teams just have no respect for Drew Brees to throw it beyond 20 yards that they can sell out for that stuff and make it harder for the Saints in the second half. And eventually you're going to be in a situation where it's going to be a crunch situation, an important game. It's going to be like 3rd and 15 or something. And then it's Drew Brees' turn. Where are you going to make the play or not, Drew? And I'm not taking anything away from his career, but right now it sure seems like this is going to be his last season playing in the NFL. And I've seen a big regression. He wasn't this bad last year. And I know Michael Thomas is out. We'll see what happens when he comes back. But Drew just not even taking shots down the field when guys might be getting open. He's not even really looking to throw it down the field, which is concerning to me. But Connor, I know, feels otherwise than me. So let's hear from him on this.
I mean, I think my thing about Breeze is that, like you said, he never had a cannon. So, I mean, even last season when the Saints were they were one of the best teams in the league, and, he still was like 30th or something in average yards per throw. So I think it's just my reason why I'm not obviously that's concerning, but my reason why I'm not concerned for the Saints is more so because I don't think he needs to be, this lighted up, throwing deep, occasionally and getting these balls, because it's just the Saints have so many playmakers when it comes to rack yardage, and it's what the Saints have been doing, and they've shown to have success with it. Like, just dump it off to Kamara and let him do the work, or throw like a screen pass to Michael Thomas and let him get the yards. And I think the other thing that I was talking about with them when it comes to the receivers and Michael Thomas being out, I think that's a big issue for them right now, because I did see they were showing some of those replays when the Saints' receivers were going down the field, and even though Breeze wanted to throw it deep, like, they just weren't open. And I think the Saints receivers are having problems getting separation without Michael Thomas being there, because they're not good enough to make up for it. Whereas when Thomas is there, I mean, he's going to command a double team. Like, he's going to command a corner and a safety on every play. So I think when he comes back, they'll be able to get that separation for him to open it up a little bit more, and possibly, because Zach made a good point when he was talking about, like, if he doesn't throw it deep, then all the other team has to do is play the short game, like the short passes, and then it's over if he doesn't prove to you that he can make that throw. But so when Michael Thomas comes back, I think that's going to change. I mean, obviously it's still early, so we still have to see. But the other thing for me, with the Saints on offense, is that they have probably one of the best running back duos in the league with Kamara and Latavius Murray. Like, Latavius Murray is a really good ground and pound guy. Like, he'll get you those tough yards, and obviously Alvin Kamara is Alvin Kamara. So, but Murray is kind of taking over the role that Mark Ingram used to have all the time in the Saints, back when he was there. So I think more so for the Saints, if I had a bigger concern for the Saints right now, it's not really Drew Brees. It's more so their secondary. when it comes to the Saints. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened to this secondary over the course of, last season, but I mean, especially Marshawn Lattimore, like he has just been getting burned consistently on, he got burned by Alan Lazard a couple
Yeah,
times
he was
last
wide
night,
open.
and he got burned a couple times by, what was his name? He got burned by, what's his name on the Raiders? Why am I losing his name?
Ruggs or Renfro? Darren
I think
Waller?
it was. I don't know.
Waller?
There was somebody on the Raiders that like burned him a couple times, and it's like, whoa.
Someone fixed our mic. All right.
But, yeah. So it's just like I don't know because I was looking at the they do those Pro Football Focus rankings every they do it throughout the season, and when it came to Janoris Jenkins, he was ranked like I think it was like fifth or seventh or something like that, whereas Lattimore was like 75th. So I don't know what's happened to Marshawn Lattimore, but that would be my biggest concern. Obviously, Brees is slightly concerning, but I don't think it's going to kill them if they can just get this defense figured out.
Yeah, I want to hear real quick before we go to lockboard from Eric, because Eric's a big Drew Brees fan. Where do you stand on this, Eric?
I am. Right now, I'm leaning a little bit more with you, Zach. I don't disagree with what Connor is saying. I mean, they definitely need to get that defense fixed. But if Michael Thomas comes back and it's still a lot of dinking and dunking and stuff like that, what it's reminding me of right now from what I'm seeing was like Peyton Manning's last year when he won the Super Bowl. Like the defense carried them and that was what won them the Super Bowl. But I mean, I don't think in the last half of Peyton Manning's last season, he almost never threw a pass over 20 yards. Like his arm strength was getting really bad. And that's what I watched a little bit of this game, and like pretty much every pass was either like a screen or a slant or like a drag route or just it was all this like
or like a dump off to Kamara.
Yeah, dump off into flat or just like all these little dink and dunkage plays, and for the most part they were working at the time. Like Connor said, that guys were getting a lot of rack yardage, and they did put up a lot of points. But I just don't know if they can fully rely on that going forward, because I think when if they get to the playoffs and they're going to be going against what are typically going to be the better defenses in the NFL at that point, I don't think they're going to be able to carry it and get too far if Brees can't show that he can hit some downfield passes. Because if you look at what the Seahawks did to Peyton Manning in that Super Bowl game, I mean, they knew what he was going to do. They knew he was going to rely on the short passing a lot, and they just destroyed that. And I feel like that's if the Saints make the playoffs, if Drew Brees can't start hitting some more downfield passes, I feel like that's exactly what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's.
I will say I will make one comment. I think you talking about the Seahawks, but that was the year Peyton Manning broke all the passing records.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. But if you watch his performance in that Super Bowl, he did not.
Well, yeah, no, the Super Bowl. I mean, that was a whole different story.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When they got beat 43-8, they were doing a lot of drag routes and over the middle and like trying to find the safety blanket for 5 yards, and the Seahawks just killed that. Like because Peyton Manning's arm strength was going downhill at that point. It wasn't as bad as it was when in the Carolina Super Bowl, but he was on the decline then too, and the Seahawks took advantage.
Yeah, really.
As much as I hate to say it.
Let's move into the lock board now. So last week I got 10 points from the lock boards. 2 fivers. Eric got 3, Connor got 4, and Nate got 3. So when you look at the total standings, I'm in first with 20 points. Connor's in second with 18. Eric's in third with 10. Nate in last place with 6. But at least, Nate, you got half your points this week.
Yeah.
Well, I did too.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I also did too. So me and Nate both had half of our total points from this week. Let's look and see how everybody did here. A lot of red on the screen, some green. But since I got the most points, I'll review my locks that I made. Nuggets over the Lakers. Now, that was game 4 that we predicted on here. So obviously we lost game 5. But they pulled it out. They won pretty easily. I did get wrong the Raiders beating the Patriots. I got that one wrong. But what made up for it was getting Mississippi State over LSU. That was, I think, a 10-point win for Mississippi State. One of the biggest stories of the first week of college football, man. LSU does not look good at all. So yeah, those were how my locks went. Everybody else got 3 and 4 points, just getting 1 or 2 right. But we have a new week, and that brings new opportunities. Nate is going to be drafting first now in this.
A spot he's found himself in a couple times.
Yep. So, Nate, let's go take a look at the betting lines here. And where are you going to go first with your first lock?
All right, so I got a lot to choose from here. Yeah, I was trying to look at this earlier and just having a tough time then too. I think I got burned playing the college last week, but I think I'm gonna go back to it again this week. I'm gonna try, since Auburn messed up my pick last time, I'm gonna take them over Georgia.
Okay. So potential 3-point play with Auburn over Georgia with the first pick. Eric, you've got the second pick. Where are you gonna go, sir?
I'm taking the basketball pick off the board. I think
suck.
the Lakers. Well, I think the Lakers. We're going to talk about this later, but while I think the Lakers are going to win the series, I think they could underestimate Miami in Game 1, and Miami could steal that one. So I'm going to take the Heat over the Lakers.
All right.
Yeah,
also,
Eric, you totally suck for that. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised because these basketball ones have been where a lot of Zach and I's points have come from. So
I had to do it, man.
Oh, okay. Well, now I have to rethink what I was gonna do. Man. Well, that's a 0 right there on the New Orleans right there.
Oh, yeah.
I think I am going to go. This is really tough. I have no idea because Eric totally stole what I was going to do.
Sorry, not sorry.
That's the benefit of getting the higher pick.
Yeah. I think this one might be a little outside of the box, but I think I'm going to take Iowa State to beat Ohio State.
Whoa.
That's Oklahoma, by the way.
Oh, what is it?
Yeah, OU is Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Well then, yeah, okay. I'm doing that. Iowa State beating Oklahoma.
Okay, yeah. All right, so going to college there for a potential 3-point play with Iowa State with that upside. I know exactly where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go the Jags beating the Bengals.
I knew you were going to do that, but I knew Connor was going to want the basketball one, so I had to do it.
Yeah, Bengals are 3-point favorites in that, so it'd be a 3-pointer.
Whoa, Eric Fisher just caught a touchdown. I just looked over at the TV. I saw Eric Fisher running in the end zone.
All right, so that's the first round. We'll go back to Nate now for the top of the second round.
All right, so yeah, I think I'm gonna go. Oh wait, where'd it go? I don't know. I'm trying to find some ways to get get back in the point standings here, but I think actually, yeah, I think I'm gonna take Las Vegas over Buffalo.
Okay.
My second pick.
Yeah, so a 3-point play in the NFL there. Buffalo's a 3-point favorite, taking the Raiders to beat them. Eric, your next pick. Where are you gonna go, man?
Okay. So this isn't really something I would want to do, and I know Connor's not going to like this, but I feel like this is a pretty even decent chance to get 3 points, I'm going to take the Titans to beat the Steelers.
Horrible pick.
Steelers only a 1 point favorite there, so yeah, definitely with this. That's
I feel like it's a chance to get 3 points for basically a pick'em game. So
yeah.
I obviously will be fine if I don't get the points for this, but
okay, Connor.
This is definitely a hard week to pick upsets. Like, I definitely, the last couple of weeks had a couple ones where I was pretty sure on them, but this is a hard week to do that. I'm wondering if I should, just change my strategy and go with a bunch of safe picks instead. Well, I guess I'll go with one safe pick right now because it's always good to get at least 1 point. So I'm going to take the Rams to beat the Giants.
Okay. Rams 13-point favorites there. That's the second
Connor, are you not a believer in Daniel Jones?
Yeah, he dimes, man. All right, so I know where I'm going to be going now with my second pick, and kind of like Eric, I hope it doesn't happen, but I'm going to take Missouri to beat Tennessee in college football. Yeah,
traitor.
No, I sure hope Tennessee wins, but I'm a little scared with that matchup, so I'm going to take Missouri. And now we're going to start the third round with Nate.
All right, so I think I'm going to go back to NFL for this one. Not as many points to be made here, but I feel pretty good about Chicago over Indianapolis now that they're giving Nick Foles the start.
Okay, so Nate taking Chicago again for a second consecutive week.
Yep.
Well, it worked out the first time because a big choke job there by the.
Yeah. All right, so Eric, where's your third and final pick gonna be?
Yeah, Nate, all you need the Colts to do is either blow a lead like the Falcons or drop a game-winning touchdown pass. And the Bears will get that dub. Let's see here. Man. Not a lot of good choices.
I know, the best ones have been picked over.
All right, I guess I'm going to go like Connor and try to for sure get a safe one, even though I'm kind of behind. I just don't see any other potential upsets that I'm really feeling. So again, another one, I will be fine if this doesn't happen, and I don't, especially since this is only 1 point, but I'm going to take the Gators to beat South Carolina.
Dang it. All right, Eric stole one from me.
I got 2 snipes tonight.
Yeah, you did.
Oh no, that's a 1-pointer. What am I saying here?
Yeah. If you taken South Carolina, yeah, that'd be a 5.
Yeah, that was a 5-pointer.
All right, Connor.
Well, I almost feel like I have to pick a 5-pointer here. I mean, this is like my strategy. I do like a 1, a 3, and a 5. So, because I definitely don't want to pick Washington to beat Baltimore or the Chargers to beat the Bucks. So, I'm like between 2 college ones. I'm like, I don't know which one I think is more likely, but I guess I will take. Ooh, my stuffy nose here. I think I'm actually going to change and do a 3-pointer because I just don't feel confident enough in any of these 5-pointers. So I'm going to take SMU to beat Memphis.
All right. Picking the upset there. Memphis is only 3-point favorite, so could be a 3-point play there if SMU wins. And to round out this week's lock board, I'm going to go gonna go conservative, take a 1-pointer, take the Ravens over the football team this week.
What?
Oh wait.
The 3 points, pretty much.
3 points? Is that what you said, Nate?
Yeah, free like
I'll
as
take
well.
it.
Well, you would hope that it would be 3 points if
Yeah.
they're 13-point favorites.
Yep. So there you have it, guys. I'll leave the YouTube screen on for you to pause it, take a look if you want. But those are our locks for this week. Interesting selection. Now let's move on to the NBA segment. Talk about some basketball here. So really, the only big thing going on in basketball right now, it's just the NBA Finals. That's all. Um, between the Lakers and the Heat. It's going to be an interesting finals matchup. No, I don't care who you are. Nobody predicted this to happen before the season.
Probably pick the Lakers, but not the Heat.
Yeah, really. So we're gonna go and make our finals predictions and talk about who we think might be finals MVP and how the series itself is going to go. So I'll start first. I took the Lakers at the start of the year. I took the Lakers. I switched my pick like in the middle part of the season. Then right before the bubble started, I was like, okay, I'm going to stick with the Lakers, and I'm going to stick with the Lakers again. I'm going to say Lakers in 6. Connor and I have a feeling are going to really agree on stuff this time.
I don't know.
Well, okay, so I'm going to
My mind can change a lot over the course of a day.
It does. And you might pick the Lakers to win the series, but the Heat to win every single game. Sorry, Eric. So I think LeBron will be the Finals MVP just because I think he's been the most consistent for him. Anthony Davis. The thing with AD is he has some games where he's for sure the best player, but then there's other games where he's not reliable in the fourth quarter. And I think also, too, LeBron's going to have a easier matchup against him with the Heat, with Butler versus Bam. I think Bam's going to match up real well on AD. So AD is still going to be great, but I think LeBron gets Finals MVP. And like I said, I have Lakers in 6, but I do have the Heat win Game 1 just because the Lakers seem to do that, the feel-out game sort of thing. But then after that, I think it's going to be pretty smooth sailing. I think the Lakers probably win the next 3. They go up 3-1. The Heat, facing elimination, win a game. And then the Lakers close it out the next game. So I think it's going to be pretty – I feel pretty confident about this.
Are you willing to lock it?
No, I'm not going to lock it. But I definitely – compared to last year's finals, I think this is – a bit more one-sided. And another thing too is just I don't think Hero's gonna do what he did against the Celtics. I'm still not a big fan of Hero. I mean, like, he's good and all, but they really needed him to win that Boston series. In one of those games, he scored like 33 or something. They needed all those points. I just don't see the Lakers allowing him to score. I think the Lakers are a better defensive team than the Celtics were. And Jimmy Butler, too, hasn't been the greatest. I mean, the Heat definitely don't have, in my opinion, like a number one player. It's between Butler and Bam, but there's no like for sure number one guy. The thing with the Heat is they're hot from 3-point shooting right now. We'll see if it continues. If it does, then I think the series could get real interesting, considering the Lakers usually aren't hot from 3. But I got the Lakers winning, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be pretty safe sailing for the Lakers. I don't think they have to worry too much. But I do have them winning in 6, so I have the Heat winning 2 games. I think they'll pull some of those games out, but
sorry, BGN.
Sorry, BGN. But Eric, curious to hear your thoughts on how many games this will take, Finals MVP, and who wins, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I think I think the Lakers will win in 5 games. I think the Heat could come out, and I think they're going to sneak and get Game 1. That's why I made that pick on the lock board. Because the Lakers have seemed to do that. They beat the Nuggets in Game 1, but they lost to Portland in game one, and they lost to Houston in game one. But then they turned it around after that, and I'm pretty sure that the same thing is going to happen here. The Heat just don't have anybody to truly contend with AD and LeBron. I don't see it happening. As much as I would love for it to happen. And I mean, honestly, really, to me, the matchup is so lopsided that really, to me, if the Lakers don't sweep this series, it would be almost kind of like an embarrassment for them. I mean, they have had the best path possible out of like what's happened in the playoffs. I mean, obviously they were the number 1 seed, so they deserved to play an 8 seed. They handled Houston. Even if it had been OKC, I don't think it would have been any different. And then they were really fortunate to not have to play the Clippers. Although based on the way the Clippers played, I think they probably still would have won that series too. And then to get the Heat out of the East is a really big benefit for them to not have to, deal with like a Giannis or somebody like that. So Jimmy Butler is just too inconsistent. Like, he has a night where he'll get like 40 points and do all this amazing stuff, and then the next couple games he doesn't really do anything. Like, and then Hero, the same thing. He had that one amazing game against Boston, and he's getting better, but I just don't think he's going to be quite good enough to take it to that next level just yet. Maybe in a few years, but not right now. The Lakers really should not have any problem with this team. I mean, the Lakers are definitely going to be the best defensive team that the Heat have faced so far. The Lakers have a lot of veterans that know their roles, and they've accepted.
And shut their
roles.
mouths. Sorry.
What did you say?
You said know their roles, and I said and shut their mouths.
Oh yeah. Well, they accept their roles and do what everyone tells them to not do. The Lakers shouldn't have any problem with this, and my guess is going to be that LeBron gets the Finals MVP. He's going to go out there and grab those uncontested rebounds and get
what are you talking
those
about, man? Those rebounds are so helpful.
Yeah, he's going to get his triple doubles and all that, or he's going to get his like 28, 9, and 9 for an almost triple double, and he's going to get his layups and go 4 out of 7 from the free throw line, get some free throws, and then when the Lakers get a big lead, then he'll make a jump shot or two after that.
Or if it's crunch time, he'll just pass it all over the place and not take responsibility.
Yeah, he'll pass it to Danny Green or Carousel or something. But I just don't see them getting in that type of a situation, though. I mean, the Lakers should steamroll the series, but like I said, I think the Heat steal game 1, and then the Lakers go on and steamroll them from there.
All right, Connor, let's hear your take.
Yeah.
So hopefully Heat in 4. Let's go. Sorry.
Well, like I said, I mentioned my mind tends to change a little bit over the course of a day, and I was originally gonna mirror Zach and take the Lakers in 6, but I kind of like how I did with the Nuggets. Like, I thought the Clippers were going to win that game, but then I switched to the Nuggets. I did some thinking, and I think I'm going to take the Heat in 7 games. Definitely not going to be, really adventurous to say Heat in 5 or anything like that. But Heat in 7 games, I think it's more so the fact that, like, I don't know. I think it's just that chip on the shoulder that the Heat have. Like Zach said, no one thought they were supposed to be here. I mean, I'm sure everyone thought that they were going to beat the Pacers, but in the playoffs. But I mean, pretty much no one picked them to beat the Bucks, and then pretty much no one picked them to beat the Celtics, and yet here they are standing in the finals. Facing down the best team in the NBA, probably. So, and if I had to guess who the Finals MVP is, I'm probably going to say Bam Adebayo. And I mean, I think it's mainly because I think he's going to be able to do a good job of containing Anthony Davis. I think that's probably going to be the biggest key for the Heat in this series, because it's more so, and from what I've seen, been Anthony Davis has been the one that's been putting up the points for the Lakers. I mean, yeah, LeBron had 38 in that last game against the Nuggets, but For the most part, it's been Anthony Davis, whereas LeBron has been, doing his normal thing, like Eric was saying, passing the ball and grabbing uncontested rebounds and stuff like that. So, and I think Adebayo is going to do a great job of defending him. And I think Adebayo, like, he's just been the heart and soul of this team throughout the playoffs. And, they keep defying the odds and they keep managing. I mean, and every day it's someone different stepping up. And I think that's a good thing if you can consistently keep that up, because normally it's not a good thing when you don't really have a superstar and and you can't really rely on one person for consistent points. But the fact is everybody on their team keeps stepping up. Like one day it'll be Jimmy Butler and Bam, and then like the next day it's Tyler Hero and Jay Crowder, and then the next day it's Goran Dragic and Jimmy Butler. It's just everybody on the team is performing, and everybody is hungry for this championship. And I honestly think the Lakers are probably going to come into I think one thing that's going to hurt them, at least in the early games, I think they'll drop game 1 too, which is why I wanted to pick that thing. But I think that they're still going to continue to underestimate the Heat, because I think their thought is going to be, well, yeah, we dropped game 1, but we do that all the time, and it's just the Miami Heat. I think they're going to underestimate the Heat, and that's going to come back to bite them in the butt. And I think, even potentially the Heat, with that, I think the Heat could win the first 2 games, honestly. Like, if I see how this is going, I think the Heat take the first 2 games, and then I think that's going to wake the Lakers up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll probably take the next 2, and then it'll be a dogfight, game 5, 6, and 7. So, but, the Heat just have found a way to get past these better teams and, play up to their opponents. And they're peaking at the right time. I think that's the important thing, is that they're peaking at the right time. Whereas, I think with the Lakers, it's just like, if even one of the 2 between Anthony Davis and LeBron James has a bad night, then they're screwed. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest problem for them. Whereas the Heat seem to have people from everywhere seem to come out and have good games. Whereas the Lakers are definitely not going to be able to. If LeBron has a bad game, even if Anthony Davis has a good game, they're not going to be able to rely on Danny Green or KCP or Kuzma to carry the load that LeBron should have been carrying, or AD should have been carrying, if LeBron was having a good game. So I am definitely going. This is definitely an adventurous pick, even if I'm taking the Heat in 7, because the Lakers are so favored. And I did have the Lakers in the finals at the beginning of the season. I did have them losing to the Bucks, but yeah, I Heat in 7. That's the,
all right.
God,
that's the
so
pick.
hope you're right, man.
Yeah, trust me, I hope so too.
Here's the funny thing though, is Eric picked the Lakers to win the series, but watch the Heat win game 1 like he predicted, and he's like, oh, maybe he'll win game 2, and then maybe they'll win game 3.
You got to remember, it's not like I said through the whole time that the Warriors were going to win. I changed my stance. I did initially predict the Warriors, but then I changed my stance.
Seems like you
proceeded to pick the Raptors. I didn't
I think you changed your stance. I think after the Raptors were up 3-2, and it was like.
No,
I think it was when they were up 2-1.
It was when they had that dominant game 3 win. I was like, okay, the Raptors are taking it, and then I picked the Raptors every game. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like for anybody, if you're new to the podcast, I'm not an idiot. I wasn't like, Warriors are going to win the championship, but I picked the Raptors every game.
The Raptors will win every game.
Yeah, that's not,
go back and watch our podcast episodes from way back in the day.
Over a year and a half now.
Now, I will say, if the Heat go up, if the Heat go up 2-0, like Connor thinks could possibly happen, if that happens, I might change my stance. But until then,
keep flip flopping, Eric. Keep flip flopping.
Until then,
sorry to keep dragging you for that, but Nate, haven't heard from you in a little while, but I know you're not the biggest NBA guy, but of course it's the finals here, so I got to hear your prediction and a prediction for Finals MVP.
Yeah, so like you said, I haven't watched a whole lot of the playoffs. Definitely not as much as I would have liked. Definitely would not have picked the Heat to have made it this far, coming into the bubble. So that was definitely a shock for me. I think they'll make it competitive, but I'm definitely gonna go with the Lakers here. I think it'll be at least 5 games. I could see 6. I could definitely see the Heat going and upsetting them once or twice. because they have the guys to, do it. Maybe like the first game could be upset, and then maybe one more. But I definitely think that they got past the Celtics and the guys in the East, but none of those teams have a guy like LeBron, let alone LeBron and AD. And if both of them come in and play like they're capable of, I don't see how the Heat get through that. So I'm going my official prediction. I'm gonna go Lakers in 5, and I think LeBron's gonna end up being the MVP. Just the way he's played in these past, the last few times he's made the finals, he's gone crazy, and obviously, if they're going to beat the Heat, he has to be at his best. So that's gonna be my uneducated NBA pick, but feel pretty good about it.
All right, yeah. You're setting yourself up, Nate, in case the Lakers don't win in 5 to be like, well, what? I don't really know.
Yeah,
I don't follow.
Yeah.
I don't really watch this. I was just going with the majority. Okay, like don't hate me.
Yeah, really. All right, guys. Well, that's gonna wrap things up for this episode. But before we end the show, I do want to give a special announcement that tomorrow. So if you're listening to this right now on Tuesday, on Wednesday, you should hear another podcast out that I'm going to be a guest in. Brody Sports Talk podcast. We've had some co-hosts from their show on to talk about NFL a couple weeks ago, and they're having me.
I wonder how Sean feels about the Eagles right now.
I'll ask him. Yeah. So I'm going to be on their podcast episode on Wednesday. So go definitely listen to that. I'm expecting a lot of great things with that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So you'll hear me again tomorrow if you choose to listen to Brody's talk. But other than that, guys, that's going to wrap things up for this episode. We'll be back with you next week to show you how the lockboard went and see how the finals have been going up to that point. And of course, another week of football, the most dramatic sport in the world. So, that's what's coming up next, guys. But until then, be clutch.
Bye.
See ya.
Peace.